I'm 37 years old. I am single, no children. I am from a non-poor family, with a good education, with a good job, and earn above average in my city. My appearance is ordinary. I have never been overweight. I invest time and money in my appearance. I actively use the hairdresser, beautician, do massage, watch my diet, sleep, vitamins. With men have always been not very well. The relationship was, but to marriage did not lead. The experience of sex was painful, and then for a long time I was not drawn to repeat. Yeah, and I don't see any Polonics. I've had a few short, resort romances, but I've gotten pretty good at my career. I've prioritized my personal life for the last 2 years. After all, I'm old enough. I should find a date. I went on a lot of dates. I decided that I need only serious men with a job, unmarried, aimed at relationships. Apparently, I was so afraid of getting burned again that I often found men even more badass than me. Everything could be according to etiquette, a date, a restaurant, intellectual conversations. But very boring all, little warmth, little humor. It often seemed that the man all his life first studied, then worked, and now he should look for a wife. And here too not the most interested people find themselves on a date. Him and me. I work in sales and am willing to support any conversation, but it was often all unnatural. A couple of times I met men who seemed to match all the points in my head, but you can't fool the libido. There were also times when I liked a man, but never went further than the first or second date. Not invited. There was an easy relationship with a man much younger than me. In general, I was in an active search and tried to communicate as much as possible. It was all passable, but it was better than the total vacuum before. At some point I decided that the rigid list in my head does not work and I need to relax, to gain courage and choose more emotionally, less calculating. And then one day I met Scott. I saw his photo on a dating site. As soon as I looked at the photo, I thought, well, just Mowgli. He looks just like him. Shoulder-length hair, baseball cap, smile, eyes a little crazy. There was something wild about him. Well, I think it's not going to work, but I'll give him a like, I'll mark him. It's amazing, and he immediately responded, and immediately such a conversation flowed alive. I don't know how to explain it. I felt a lot of energy in him. I liked him immediately. The first meeting didn't work out. I wrote a couple of hours before the meeting and realized that he forgot about it. I was annoyed. I wrote resentment. Scott responded a few days later, apologized, and the second time we met. I was very interested from the beginning. I really wanted to see him in person. We corresponded a lot on my side, especially actively. I even wrote to him, "You can easily fall in love with you." And then we met. And I didn't like him at all at first. A lot of things surprised me. He was terribly dressed. In my opinion, all these things should just burn or throw away. In addition, he was very nervous and spoke even inappropriately. I also thought, how could it be? After all, he is such an interesting interlocutor in correspondence and such an absurdity in life. And then I decided that either the guy is a drug addict or just worried. Well, we should go for a walk, since we met, at least for the sake of decency. The longer we walked, the more he calmed down, and the conversation was more meaningful. I suggested we go to a bar, one where he would be in his own form. He finally calmed down, took a beer. I politely offered to pay for my beer myself. I ordered a beer too, so I wouldn't stand out from the rest of the crowd. He immediately agreed that I'd pay for it myself. I was upset at the time. And here he is sitting, looking at me, and I realize that he is very handsome, his face calmed down and smoothed. And I realize that I really like him, and I want to kiss him right now. Apparently the thoughts were written on my face. The guy started kissing me. He sat close, and after half an hour he was already hugging me tightly, and we shared some silly stories about first love. I suggested we go to my place. We slept together. I wanted him. I was surprised at myself. It's not normal for me. He also told me about himself that he drinks very little and he didn't plan on a bar and he doesn't usually have sex on the first date. He embarrassed me with that. What could he possibly think of me? But everything had already happened. We've been in touch regularly since then. He wrote and called a lot, and he's become like family to me at once. He is very warm, very affectionate. It seems that you can tell him everything. And he never judges and does not smarten up. He turned out to be a decent person. I love talking to him. But we're very different people. Scott is 39 years old. He looks like a boy, young. It turned out that he was married twice, has officially 6 children with whom he communicates, but does not support them financially. He does not speak badly about any of the former women. There is no bitterness or regrets about past relationships. He calmly and very logically talks about everything. He used to be into tourism and traveled halfway around the world. He travels everywhere with a tent and sleeping bag, hitchhikes a lot. But he calls himself working class. In any place he can find a job, he can work as an industrial climber and loader and driver. I realized we were from different social backgrounds from the beginning. Our relationship is now 2 months old, and it has slowly slipped into arguments and squabbles between us. Scott comes to my place, eats. Sometimes it seems like he eats to spare, bathes, sleeps, showering me with kisses and compliments. But gradually my discontent grew. We agreed to go to the theater. I bought the tickets. I several times reminded about the money for the ticket. He was even surprised when I mentioned it. But I asked about the money not because I care so much about the money itself, but as the fact that if he did not give it to me, my feeling that my hospitality was being abused would grow a lot, and he should have been the one to worry about it, not me. I don't know how I should have behaved and reacted in that situation. I told him I'm sorry for all of this. He promised, of course, to pay for the ticket. The theater hasn't happened yet. He hasn't returned the money for the ticket. Scott's main hobby is running. He participates in marathons, various competitions. He's a strange man. He loves the outdoors, so the last 2 weekends in a row he's gone to all sorts of competitions. I didn't even know there were such things. He's been trying to get me to go with him. But running around all weekend and sleeping in a tent is definitely not my story. It seems to me that the right thing for me to do is to refuse such offers. I am neither physically nor mentally ready for such ventures. In this situation, I do not leave the feeling that I am being used. Due to the completely different earnings, we can hardly agree on anything but a movie at home and sex at home. At the same time, I sincerely think he is very smart and the most interesting person I've met. And I often tell him so. But with such a mésalliance to talk about the development of relationships is difficult. What stops me from finally breaking up with him is that this is the first relationship that I consider meaningful to me after a long break. Plus, Scott is handsome and healthy, and I want a baby. He brought it up himself, and I'm hooked on it. He offers me lip service to a relationship and having a baby and being together. He keeps saying that he doesn't want to be alone. He wants a family and more children. I realize that if I have a child with him, then with the expectation that it is only my child and all the costs of it I bear myself. And I have helpers, my parents. But I still don't give up hope for a normal relationship with a man. A week ago, I exploded. Scott came to pick me up from work. I can tell you, I stopped caring about his looks a long time ago. And when that guy's in my bed, I can't help but admire him. I was pissed off by the music he tried to play in my car. I turned on the radio and we drove home in silence. At home, I sat down and cried. I don't know what I wanted from him. I asked him to leave. He circled around me, took all his things that I had and left. Texted in the evening saying we should get better at solving these things. I responded with a bunch of complaints. Basically, I've said it before, we are too different. I cannot share his hobbies, he will not share mine. We even apologized to each other for that night, and Scott took it as a reconciliation. But I couldn't let it go. If I was gonna get carried away, that was it. I spent the next few days clinging to every word he said, irritated by everything. I told him not to come to my house for food and so much more. I have to say that Scott held up well. He tried to explain his life to me, talked about his difficulties with money, housing. It turned out that his plan before he met me was to go somewhere else, but now his plan is me and stay with me. And I don't feel his desire to be with me. I feel like he should just throw everything he has at my feet. I know in my head that he doesn't owe me anything, but here it turns out that we'll go out for the summer and then he'll decide whether to leave or stay. And I felt not just a convenient option where you can eat, sleep together, but also a temporary convenient option. I would calm down and then I would start clinging to him again. The climax was when we agreed that he would come to my place in 2 hours. 2 hours later, he said he was late. And in the beginning there were quarrels about time. He does not follow it especially. He were 2 hours there and 3, and I reacted to it hysterically. And somehow it seemed to me that we overcame this moment, and he was not late anymore. And I was grateful for that. But now it's like a red rag on a bull. I wrote that he shouldn't come to me and let him go home, and that it was disrespectful and a violation of my boundaries. And Scott is far from harmless. He has a masterful way of being rude. He's not out of bounds, unlike me. And later we had a very different conversation. I felt uncomfortable and reminded him about the damn theater. But before we go to the theater together, it's a good idea to socialize. I don't want to meet at my house. I want to meet at a neutral place. But I do not understand how to behave so that I can restore face, not to fray all the nerves, and that this story ended for me without damage. I liked the man I caught on, immediately wanted to remake him under me, to explain how to do and not to do. And he goes with his clear plan. And on the other hand, I like his naturalness so much, and I like the fact that he is not an office employee, a lot of very life in him. And I think maybe there is a chance to build a relationship with him. And the choice among fans is not much. Or rather, there are none at all. I don't know if I should make up with Scott or not. I know I shouldn't have to change him. I have to accept him for who he is. Or should I just forget him?